Well, my mom said she doesn't want me at her wedding because of my gender. Well, this story gets very interesting because I figure out the guy that she's going to marry, Tom. He is not who she thinks he is. She thinks he's some suave, good-looking guy who's going to take care of her for the rest of her life. What she doesn't know, he is a complete snob, weirdo, jerk, and he's been preying on underage girls. And here's the thing, I have all the proof.
Hey guys, I'm Jamie. I'm really distraught and confused right now. I'm also guilty, angry. Well, let me explain. So, my mother is about to get married to this dude. Of course, she's allowed to, and I don't have a problem with it, but she's uninvited me from her wedding because, apparently, her fiancé told her he doesn't want me there because he's transphobic, and against me being there in a space on his special wedding day. Well, it turns out that the reason, among several other reasons, that he did not want me there was because he thought I'd post the wedding photos on my Instagram profile, and he did not want my friends to know he was a member of my family. And the reason is, well, it's actually quite sinister. Once a harmonious and warm family, our relationship, mine and my mother Mary's, had always been one of mutual respect and love. She accepted me for who I am. In fact, she looked happy when I made the choice to transition, which is not the case for most kids, so I considered myself to be extremely lucky. My girlfriend was not happy and broke up with me, but I understood where she was coming from. Well, and I was absolutely supportive of the decision of her. Even then, my mother just cussed her out and comforted me while I sobbed into my duvet and hugged into my sleep. So yeah, my relationship with her was extremely special, and I never thought things would turn out this way. Things began to change when my mom's new fiancé, whom we'll call Tom, when he entered the picture. Tom was suave, a charming man who quickly swept my mother off her feet. They met on a month-long recluse cruise of a couple years ago and came back hand in hand. You see, Tom came waltzing into our house and our lives, and this was back when I had not transitioned and still was female. Thankfully, my name was the same and I did not have to change it, or I think Tom would have never accepted it. It was truly happy for Mom, and I excited to have a stepdad. See, my dad, he died when my mother was pregnant in a school shooting. He was a teacher trying to protect his students, and I'll forever be proud of him for saving those kids. Especially if I see any fatherless behavior comments like "I don't get enough IRL." Ugh. I met Tom after my mother brought him home when the cruise ended, and even though he lived an hour away, he still moved in straight from the vacation with his suitcase in hand and gradually started bringing things over the course of a month or so. My mother was practically over the moon and somehow did not find anything about this weird or alarming. However, I noticed something off about him from the start, but could not quite place what it was. Despite the unsettling feeling, I tried to be supportive for my mother's sake. I mean, before I transitioned, he'd take these long gazes at me and sigh, asking me to wear more feminine clothes and that I'd look so much more attractive with long hair and makeup on. I looked to Mom for support, but she'd say he was saying it for my good. She did not agree, but she saw what he meant. Like, am I the only one who gets a bit of a pervy vibe from this one, or was that a weird thing to say? Well, he'd insist that once we were home, jeans and outside clothes were not allowed. I get these rules, I guess they're fair, and I don't like roaming around in my streetwear either. I'd much rather get into a long tank top and boxers at the end of the day. He'd make my mom dress in booty shorts and these skimpy vests that made me a little uncomfortable to see, to be honest, but you know, it's between them, so I did not have a say or a right in that one. But the weird thing was that he insisted I stop wearing these boyish boxers that are inappropriate for girls to wear and went out the very next day to get me, quote, proper shorts, like the gym sets and PJs. They're now gathering dust in the corner of my closet, but back then, they were the most uncomfortable things ever. Riding up my butt and looking like practical pants all the dang time. Of course, my mother did not think he was wrong, and neither did I, even though I felt wrong. I know I wasn't that young back then, but I had such trust in my mother's choices that I believed her. I should have seen the warning signs there themselves. So, he lived here for 4 years, taking on the position of my father and making important life decisions for me. 2 years ago, when I came out as trans, it felt like the end of the world because while my mother was over the moon and very supportive of me, Tom was angry. I could not seem to understand why he was so angry. I mean, sad, maybe, yeah, understandable. Disappointed, okay, I get it. As someone who does not fit into social norms of gender and sex, I understand why anybody would be frustrated. We weren't told about the gray, only the black and white, the right and wrong. It's all that was discussed. So when someone breaks through the perfect social structure, it's likely confusing for anyone not experiencing the same feelings. It's my battle with gender, and I don't expect anyone else to get it because they can't relate. And when people can't relate, they turn to hatred because they don't know how to ignore something so new and confusing to them. It's easy to tell strangers to mind their own business or simply not give a crap about them, but when it's your own mother's boyfriend, what can you really do? But I wasn't even his daughter, and barely knew me because I distanced myself from him as much as I could. We barely spoke, even though we were in the same room whenever we were awake at home, and I could not understand all this anger he suddenly had against me. He slapped me and said something along the lines of, "You're not a girl anymore, right? So I guess I can get away with hitting you." That's when I started absolutely hating him. He used to shove me around and push my chest all the time, saying it was okay because we were now father and son. He never did it around my mother except for casual punches on the shoulder and a flurry of hits on my back that made it look like he was just teasing me. Before I had surgery, there was this really weird phase. Honestly, I block it out of my memory because I'm not sure whether it's SA or not. So one day he walked into my room after unlocking it with the master keys, and this was right after I had a bath. So he knew that I was changing. He walked into my room, took a long gaze at my chest, and just walked out. Later, when I confronted him, he just said that I was not going to have those anymore, and that he needed to see them one last time. Look, I don't know, okay? I know it's terrible, and that's why I needed to get my mother away from him. After my surgery, he'd say that boys don't wrap their towels around their chest, they wrap them around their waist. He'd wait outside the bathroom to correct me and make sure that if I was actually a boy, I was doing it right. Eventually, I just started getting dressed in the bathroom, and he stopped annoying me after that. Again, my mother was very supportive of this and encouraged Tom to teach me how to, quote, act as a boy to show me the ropes. He even sometimes roamed around exposed, saying that's just how boys are. It would make my mom giggle and roll her eyes, smacking him and telling him to go cover himself up. I was depressed. Even my friends stopped hanging out with me, and I thought it was because of my depression at first, but they passed me with genuine smiles and some weird expressions between pity and concern. They reached out to me during my lunch break, but still kept me away and refused to hang out with me at home. It really changed me as a person, but it was only the start of college. I made new friends in no time and met new people and started getting better. They weren't the kind to go to each other's homes either. We'd go clubbing and stuff. All the guys in my group were really accepting and treated me like a real brother. It seemed I'd finally found my place. All the girls were understanding, and I finally found another girlfriend after all these years of being single. She's the sweetest little thing ever. But she's really shy and timid, and I really love her. Who can talk about anything and everything, and she says the one perk about me is that I never undermine or minimize her experience with endometriosis and weight fluctuations, and that I can actually understand and relate to the entire menstrual conundrum. She's been with me throughout this entire ordeal, and I think after a couple of months until I earn enough, I'm going to move out of this house and live with her at a place near campus. I think that's enough context. Now, I'll explain why I'm even posting this. So my mother's getting married to Tom in a couple of weeks. I can't say I'm happy for her, but she won't listen to me. I truly hate Tom more than anything, and here's why. Well, a couple months ago, right before Tom proposed to Mother, we had a full-blown fight. I mean, a couple fists were thrown, and I go to the gym. Okay, I've also done MMA, so that's cool. I really am buff for my biological sex. I think it's the hormone therapy, but hey, I'm working pretty hard too. So, it did some lasting damage to his face. It was over something as trivial as the last slice of bread. He reached for the last slice of toast at the same time as me, but I grabbed it first, and for some reason that set him off. He started ranting about how I don't respect him or treat him like my father. I told him my father was a hero, and he's just nothing more than a slimy duck. Well, he could never replace my father. I told him he never respected my NOS and my pleas to get away or of my boundaries. I told him to leave me alone. Of course he did not, and he threw a punch to my nose as usual, and for the first time, though, I actually hit him back. I threw a punch to his nose just like he did mine, except way harder. I'm not going to keep going into the violent recount or anything because it's against the guidelines here, but I'm really just going to say I got him good. He did not get any permanent injuries or stitches, but he was bruised all over with a shut eye. Guess what my mother had to say about it? Nothing. She said it was normal for two men in the house to fight for dominance and stuff like that, and I actually laughed. This woman was so unbelievable. She simply rolled her eyes and told me we'd be buddies in no time. Well, he proposed to her a few days later, all bruised and battered, and during the entire preparation for the wedding. Tom did not bother me at all. In fact, he was hiding from me and avoiding me, and I thought he was actually scared of the big guns that are my biceps, but apparently, as I later came to know, there was something sinister going on. Hey look, I did not mind the lack of attention I was getting. I relished the absence of small punches, but squeezes and weird taunts. Then finally, Mom took me to the corner one night after dinner and told me. As Mom and Tom, well, yes, that rhymes, I know, their wedding approached, a bomb was dropped on me. Mom delivered the shocking news to me. I was not invited to the wedding. She told me to go to a friend's place during the week that they're getting married, and that by their return from their honeymoon, they wanted me to at least start looking for a place to stay that was not with them. Well, that really hurt. The reason for being uninvited from the wedding, Tom felt uncomfortable with my presence. Ha! So much for fighting for dominance. Ugh, freaking wuss. Anyways, she continued and just told me that she was never going to have him accept me of being trans and giving up all my natural beauty for a mental illness. He allegedly did not want his side of the family to know that he now had a trans stepson, and the fight just took it that far. She also told me he did not want to see me until I stopped taking hormone therapy and that it was making me aggressive. It was the biggest blow to me that Mom chose Tom's comfort over my place at her wedding. I could not believe Mom let my bond with her simply wash away from mediocre old people's booty smooshing and occasional shoulder rubs. I could not understand why Tom would do that either, but honestly, I was more mad at Mom. I struggled to give a crap about what Tom thought, but it mattered to me that I was by my mom's side during her special day, and I was her maid of honor, you know. Reeling from the rejection, I packed a rucksack and shifted to my girlfriend's co-ed college dorm, crashing on her twin bed, heartbroken and confused. She told me it was low of my mother to do that and cheered me up by making fun of Tom and his weird little quirks, and intense glares at her. I started to feel better eventually, mixing it with the lot my girlfriend was hanging out with, making new friends and strengthening my bond with the old ones, but as time went on, I started to notice some strange happenings among our circle of college friends, especially the girls. Several of them reported being approached online and in person by an older man. There was this dude who was someone's father getting into campus and perving on the girls. He was apparently going around approaching girls and asking them for sexual favors. He also somehow got all the girls' numbers in my class, presumably from his daughter's phone. From the WhatsApp group of all the students, I was curious about who it was and I asked around a bit. It turns out this has been going on for about a year. I asked my girlfriend if she was approached, but she said she was not. I eventually managed to get a hold of the girl who this man had actually groped. The only reason it was so insistent on finding out who this dude was is because I had a gut feeling. Tom had come to all the events, and he used to even come around just to give me forgotten lunchbox here and there. I found it strange and highly suspicious at the time, but I did not think it was that serious. I just thought maybe he was just trying to get into my good graces. So yeah, I did some digging and showed the girl a picture of Tom and asked her whether this was the guy, and my heart absolutely sank when she confirmed my doubt through her tears. When I found out that Tom was harassing girls at our college, a wave of emotions washed over me. First and foremost, I was shocked and disgusted by his behavior. It was so harrowing to think that someone I knew, including my own mother's fiancé, could engage in such creepy, inappropriate crap. As I dug deeper into the unsettling incidents with Tom, the actual extent of his predatory behavior became glaringly obvious, and while early on I thought otherwise, it was not just a few isolated incidents. Oh no. Where did this man even get the free time? Several of my friends, girls I trusted and really cared about, told me that they were sexually harassed online and in person by Tom, who infiltrated our campus and preyed on vulnerable girls. It was really disturbing to think that there was this man who should have been focused on being a responsible step-parent or even a responsible boyfriend, instead engaging in such despicable acts. He would go around, as I heard, shamelessly approaching girls and brazenly soliciting sexual favors in exchange for money. The audacity of it all rendered me speechless and really just added to my determination to put an end to his reign of exploitation. Each story I heard from my friends and peers painted a similar picture of discomfort, fear, and violation. They felt targeted, objectified, and manipulated by this man, who saw them as mere objects for his gratification. How dare he exploit the trust and safety of our college community? How could he think he could get away with such a reprehensible behavior? Then I put two and two together. Tom did not get me kicked off the guest list because he was scared of me. No. He provoked me on purpose to get Mom to agree that I did not deserve to be a part of her special day if I did not respect her husband. He knew I'd figure it all out if I did not already, so he got me kicked out because he did not want me to post his hideous, legally protected pedophile face on my social media or expose him in front of his family. I'd also asked my mom if I could bring my girlfriend and a couple of other friends from college to attend, and she'd say yes at the time. I'm guessing he was scared of being recognized or something like that. And that's why he wanted me out of the house too, because he knew I would just tattle right to my mother once I figured out the truth. Dang, though I'm really horrified by the fact that this pig got so many girls in my class that he was freaking famous at this point, and literally everyone had seen his face, and it's just so gross. I was initially scared to do anything about it, but there was also this really strong sense of responsibility that surged within me. I felt a deep concern for the well-being and safety of the girls who had been targeted by my pervert of a stepfather-to-be. My friends were among those who had experienced Tom's advances, but that did not seem to matter because I would not want them for a stranger either. And so I think it's now my mission to protect them and anyone else who could fall victim to his actions. I could not bear the thought of letting him get away with it. So, guys, have you got any advice about maybe how I should go about this? I'm really scared, confused, but I know I have to do something about it. Should I tell my mom or no? I'll definitely have to confront him, but I don't know how. I think I'm going to at least inform security at our college so they won't let him in again. Okay, that's it for now, I guess, but I will keep you guys updated.
What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. So today's story is an absolute creep fest. It looks like Tom is nothing but a nightmare, but everything's starting to fall around him. We do have quite a few updates, so, well, let's go ahead and jump right into update number 1.
Hey guys, update. I confronted Tom thanks to all the kind and supportive comments, and super thanks to all the ones with amazing advice. No, I'm not going to the police though. That's not my place, it's the girls' place. They're supposed to decide how to move forward, and I'm not going to infringe on their choice not to speak up, so let's just get it to that, yeah. Upon discovering his pervy demeanor around young teenage adults, I confronted Tom, only to get it, you guessed, denial and threats. He was not so willing to admit his pervert intentions and tried to manipulate the situation right into his favor. Tom denied any involvement right off the get-go, insisting that my homegirl's allegations were just BS and that I was grossly mistaken. He undermined my credibility and made me a little less confident about the validity of what all the girls in my class said. He was like, all old white men looked the same, blah blah blah, and the a-hole had almost convinced me and my friends probably mistook someone else for him. But then, I remembered his behavior when I was a girl, and it hit me real hard in the face that he was being a pervert around me. Penny dropped, and then ranted about it. He just looked at me like he'd been slapped in the face, and do you know who got to slap after I accused him of sexually harassing me too? Of course, I got slapped. His being violent was very obviously an attempt to protect himself and avoid facing the consequences of his actions, which were quite possibly losing his fiancé and maybe going to jail. As the conversation grew more intense and I had talked more through the possibility of him going to jail for harassment and domestic violence, his entire behavior and demeanor shifted, making a complete 180-degree turn. He tried to intimidate me, hoping to shut me up and stop the truth from getting to my mother and probably his family. He said he'd beat me up, humiliate me in public. Let me tell you, that crap did not work on me. I mean, these threats were meant to scare me into backing down and giving up my pursuit of justice, but I just whispered to him that he had not done nothing but add intimidation and blackmail to the list of charges I could file. Despite his denials and straight-up threat, I was resolute this time around. I knew the truth, and he could not brainwash me, and I was determined to ruin him and protect others from his harmful behavior, starting with my mom. I needed to get the heck away from him because there was no way I was letting that piece of crap touch my mother, and Tom's reaction only further made me realize and confirm to myself that I was doing the right thing by standing up against him. Feeling a bit cornered, I did the only thing I could think of. I exposed Tom's creepy advances to my mother. I told her everything from the time he came into my room while I was changing to the group and, well, the groping on campuses. While I did not have any proof, I thought Mom, who I thought to be the biggest feminist on the planet, would dump his butt the second I told her about this energy he had. But of course, things did not go my way. So, guess what? Mom refused to believe me, accused me of actually trying to sabotage her happiness. Like, bro, I get that you're blind in love or whatever, but as your child, I'm only trying to protect you. This woman's happiness means literally the most to me, so yeah, it sucked when she insinuated that I was trying to ruin her life and take her magical fairy tale of marriage away. So yeah, that happened. Now, I don't know how to move forward because while I don't want my mother to stay with a sex offender, I also don't know how to convince her of Tom's criminal personality. Any advice from you guys will be so appreciated. Update number 2. Hey guys, it's Jamie again. Here's an update. I did something stupidly scary. I'm a little guilty about it, but hey, it worked out, so, I guess. Basically, it's been around a week since I confronted Tom and told my mother about his shenanigans. I was wallowing in the extremely painful thought that my friends would not get justice and my mother would marry a pervert and I would lose them all. It was an entire day of depression and maybe a little bit of, ideation of hurting myself. Of course, it wasn't just that. There's a lot of things on in life right now, and I'm just a bit overwhelmed at this point, but you know what? It's alright. Then my girlfriend told me it was not my fault and simply told me that I would not get away anywhere with my mother or Tom unless I had solid proof of his perversion. Well, I had a whole eureka moment. Desperate to get Tom away from everyone I love. While my friends had promised me that they'd inform me if they were approached by Tom again, there was radio silence from him now that he knew I was adamant about getting him this time. So, I was like, maybe he won't approach my friends for now, but what if my friends approach him? Out of options and absolutely desperate to protect my friends and mother, I hatched a plan. I set up a sort of sting operation with my friends to make sure I'd be successfully catching Tom red-handed and recording it all. Basically, I got a friend to text him back saying she would agree to meet up with him the next day. She had fears, though. Life is not a movie, and she was putting herself in legitimate, dangerous situation just so her friend could get him away from his mother. Before you cuss me out in the comments, I know my plan was stupid. A lot worse could have happened had something gone wrong, and my friend could have gotten seriously hurt. In retrospect, while I now, have what I need, if I could go back, I would never have come up with the plan or at least done things differently. Anyways, so he asked for proof that she was really willing to go meet him, as in he asked her to send explicit photos. Of course, we made the classic move. We pulled pictures off the internet and sent them to him. He didn't figure it out somehow, and he instead paid her $10 for it. I wondered where the jobless crap was getting money from, but I figured he was leeching off my mother. All the more reason for me to be mad at him. Anyways, I got her to set up the meeting the very next day. Eager to get his crap over with, they met at a public place at her insistence, with her phone on call the entire time and my phone recording the video. They discussed her fees. Yes, it's absolutely grossing to me to even type this, and his kinks and preferences. My girlfriend sat in a nearby booth at the cafe, taking lots of pictures of both of their faces, making sure to get all the time he was grabbing her hands and making suggestive faces towards her. Once we got everything we needed, I signaled her to reveal that we had him on record, and had him this time. She told him she actually had no intentions of selling her body to him or engaging in any sort of sexual activity. Well, this really set him off. He starts berating her, saying disgusting things to her and making gross comments about her body. He told her a promise was a promise and that whether she liked it or not, he was going to take her to a hotel room anyways. This was all on recording from my phone, but he assumed it was on her phone, so he smashed it to the ground and trampled it. As soon as I found out he was getting violent, I started walking over there, messaging my girlfriend to make sure she was out of harm's way, and I was pretty scared. I thought he was going to back down, but he was instead starting to get violent. I rushed towards the entrance right before Tom was getting into his car, and I dashed there and wrenched my friend's hand out of his grip, and I slapped him with all the might I had, and told my friend to get back to campus with my girlfriend. She threw me this mad glance, presumably because of the visible red marks on her wrist. I gestured a sorry to her and got into the car with Tom. I told him to drive home or I'd drag him to the police station and get him into jail for destroying my friend's phone and assaulting her physically. Well, that was yesterday, and I have not done anything about it yet. I'm thinking about how I should proceed with this and sort out the evidence so my mother has no chance of denying or saying I faked it. Since last night, Tom has gotten restless. I overheard him saying to Mom that I was probably plotting some evil plan to separate them, and that they would stay together and not believe a word coming from my mouth. Well, I mean, he's right. That's exactly what I'm doing, plotting. But she can't believe me. She can't deny the proof. Tomorrow, I'm going to tell her everything. I'll post an update on that soon enough, but my main question is, should I do this? I mean, is this the right way to brutally expose his crimes, his cheating, and his pervy intentions? For the last time, hopefully, I will need your advice. Should I ruin my mother's wedding? What if she chooses to be with him despite his actions, and what if I go and ruin it even more? Updates number 3. Hey guys, I read all your comments and I realized from them that this is not about me. It isn't even really about my mother, it's about the safety of young girls and women around me. As I realized what he did to me through your comments, I finally understood that I had been sexually harassed all this time, and he was manipulating my mother. But my mother is not a child, so she's not so easily influenced. As some of you pointed out, so whatever happened happened, but I'm moving out anyways and staying low contact from here on out. With undeniable proof in hand, I confronted my mom one more time. Mom was forced to face the truth about her fiancé, and she could not say it to my face that I was lying, not when I presented her with such compelling evidence. She canceled the wedding, apologized to me, and thanked me for opening up her eyes, but I would say the damage was done, and our relationship would never be the same again. Tom, well, he just kinda sat there making pleading eyes at Mom. Mom ignored him, called the police, and told them she wanted to press charges for sexually harassing her daughter, which was a minor, for all these years. All my friends also went to the police station just to give their statements too, and after the whole thing, he's in jail right now. So, that's what happened. I'm moving out tomorrow despite my mother's begging me to stay, and my friend forgave me for putting her in the dangerous situation. I mean, who knows what could have happened if he drove off with her and I reached a minute late. Now, our group has become stronger and, well, stronger than ever in just a few days. While Tom's probably pulling out what's remaining of his balding hair in jail, I think it all somehow worked out. So, I'll see you, everyone. Bye, and thank you so much for sticking up to the story and giving me all your helpful advice.
Okay, so guys, let me know in the comment section, does Tom qualify for this week's Creep of the Week award? I think I say yes, because what he did was so weird. But not only that, it was sexual abuse to the max, and so many other red flags. But the one thing about this story that I am so sad about, I wish I could have seen it play out. What happened to Tom? I mean, yes, we learned that he was in jail, but we don't know about the trial, how long that he's going to go to prison, if he goes to prison, how many girls are going to step forward. I mean, there's so many unanswered questions. I'm just hoping there's some massive update for this story, maybe in the future. This story came out 3 months ago. There has not been any word from OP since then, so I'm watching this really closely, and if any updates happen, you guys will be the first to know because I want Tom to get what he deserves. Let me know what you thought about this story. Let me know if you think OP could have or should have done something differently. Drop it in the comment section down below. If you guys are new to the channel, my name's Mr. Reddito. I narrate stories every single day. So if you like these sort of stories and you want more daily videos, the simplest way is just to subscribe and hit those bell notification icons so you never miss an upload. I'll catch you guys tomorrow, and remember, it's cool to be kind, and don't be a creep like Tom.